So welcome everyone. My name is Radha Ruparel. It's a pleasure to host this People First talk. And for those of you who are new to the community, just a couple words on People First. So the People First community is a growing coalition of actors. We've now got 500 individuals and organizations across sectors and around the world who believe that if we want to achieve sustainable development, we have to invest in people, and we have to invest in the collective leadership of many different people working across all parts of the system to achieve change, particularly local leaders, those who are most proximate to the challenges we're working to address. And so what we've been doing over the last year is hosting these People First talks, where we've been learning from different members of our community about how they are investing in leadership. What does it look like in practice? And so today, it's my pleasure to introduce our two special guests. We get to learn a little bit from the Earth University in Costa Rica about how they've been thinking about leadership. So today we will have with us José Zaglul. So José is the first ever president of the Earth University in Costa Rica. It was founded in 1989 with an incredible mission, which José will tell you a lot more about in just a moment. But it's this idea of how do we prepare ethical leaders for sustainable development who can construct a just and prosperous society. So not a small mission, something we're going to get to dig into a little bit more. And together with José as well, we have Carla Mena. And Carla was a student of the Earth University and graduated in 2000. She was also on the staff of the Earth University for many years, supporting their alumni work. She's done a lot of work through different roles in Costa Rica, in different areas such as climate work and the carbon neutral process. And we were just chatting before, and José, I'm going to steal your punchline, but Carla is just got a new role as the head of the Extension Service in Costa Rica, and she's the first woman ever to hold that role since the Ministry of Agriculture created that 80 years ago. So pleasure to have you with us, Carla. And Randall, welcome as well. Great to have you with us as well. So for those of you who haven't been in a space like this is just going to be a really informal conversation that I'll host with José and Carla. We'll explore, what's the type of leadership they think is necessary? How have they gone to develop it in the Earth University? But it's also meant to be a collective conversation. And so what I'll invite you to do is, as you have questions, to please put them in the chat, and we'll bring them into the conversation as we go along. All right? So with that, let's get started. José, I'm just going to start with you. And, let's just start with, tell us a little bit about the Earth University and how you decided to start it and what it's all about.
The institution was created because of some kind of frustration that our founders had, that we were not preparing the leaders in the agricultural field that we needed. And that the education had to change, had to be more experiential, participatory. We didn't just wanted to form job seekers, but rather job creators. And also, it was very important to have ethical leaders. We didn't want only to form a great professional, but a great human being, someone that cares for others and cares about the environment, about society. And the way of doing business, we wanted to do business not as usual. And I'm saying not as usual because money is important, but it's not the only thing. Not making money at the expense of the environment, at the expense of the society. And forget a little bit about the word competition where only one wins, but rather form individuals that care and bring prosperity to others, not only for themselves. And so to do that, we had to be a values-based education. We put an emphasis on learning and not on teaching, which makes a huge difference. And we did, and the student is at the center of our educational system. And sometimes it doesn't happen in universities, Sometimes if you're a great educator, you may not even get promoted so much, but it's based on research only. And so we believe that research, education, and outreach is part of our educational system, and we try to bring together that and involve the students heavily in their own learning process, and with respect, with honesty, with ethics, and with love. I think love can break all the negative barriers that we have.
Yeah, thank you, Jose. We're going to dive into the values-based education in a moment, but before we do that, when we've spoken before, one of the things that you said was you were quite intentional about who you selected into the program and how you thought about that and ensuring that that's diverse. So can you just share more about what your philosophy there was, and then we'll get into a little bit of what the program entails?
Yeah, well, that we all know that education is the greatest tool for us to advance. And as individuals, as a society, as families, but somehow we discriminate, especially at university, where the people that need education most, are not given the opportunity. And maybe it's not intentional, but we give an entrance exam. And we believe that the entrance exam really tells us how intelligent what one person is. And that we've proved over the years that that's not true. So what we did was to reach out to people in the rural sector, to the most economically disadvantaged, interview them. And the entrance exam that we gave them was just, will give us an idea of their academic background, but we knew that people that came from some of these areas didn't have the best education. But we believe that if we paid attention to them, if we let them fail and stand up again, and we care about them, and we know what the weaknesses are, and we put another student or another person to help in certain areas, it was incredible. In 6 to 8 or 9 months, those students will be up to the level of other students. And 65% of our students come from economically disadvantaged families. And our graduation rate, we graduate about 82% of our students that come in the first 4 years, and about 90 some in 5 years. And about 70% of them find a job 2 or 3 months after they graduate. And we have a record of our graduates, and 25% have their own businesses. So for each graduate, they create 4 jobs. And so what happened is that I think if we open opportunities for the people from the most disadvantaged areas and form them with values and care for each other, and if they become leaders, because mostly university graduates are the leaders of the world in the government or the private sector, we believe that universities have the power to change the world quicker. Because if those graduates take the right decisions for the society, as we just mentioned in Ecuador before we started, we can make a huge difference. And we have to form not only great professionals in their field, but great human beings. I think that's the most important thing. It's not worth it to teach science and technology if we don't teach values.
No, I think it's a theme we've heard throughout some of these talks around focusing on going beyond just the academics and thinking about what are some of the other characteristics that matter. Before we get into those characteristics, Jose, one other thing that you mentioned that we've heard in some of the previous talks is this idea of bringing together diverse groups. So you said, 65% of people have come from disadvantaged backgrounds, 35% have come from more well-off families. How was leadership cultivated by bringing those two together? What did you see that, each different party learned from one another? What did you do to create the conditions where they could learn from one another?
Yes, Radha, it was not only economical differences, but sometimes we had 35 different countries represented, different religions, different backgrounds, And what we do, first of all, we never put, like in the dorms, 2 people from the same country or same economic background. And then our learning process, and I put the emphasis in learning, is experiential, where the professor becomes a facilitator of the learning process. So we put students in groups of 4 to 5 from different backgrounds, and they have to learn to resolve problems, but to listen to each other. Actually, diversity, like in nature, enriches us. And so when you have people that think differently from you, that may be an advantage. We don't stick only to our culture, our tradition, but we can learn from others and they can learn from us. And so the values of respect, listening to each other, resolve, differences through dialogue. This is constantly, promoted at the institution. But what's most important is not the students only, it's the faculty and the staff, administrators, because it's very difficult to teach values in a class if you behave differently. If we talk about honesty, we have to be honest. If we talk about respect, we have to be respectful of each other. I mean, we cannot have two faculty members fighting in front of the students, and then we tell the students to respect each other. So the choosing of the faculty and the staff, and I'm talking about the drivers, the people that clean, I mean, they are all working for the same purpose, to form that graduate. So we make sure that everybody on campus knows that his or her mission is to form the ethical leaders for sustainable development and construct a just and prosperous society. That's our mission, and that's what we want everybody to focus on. How we do it, there are different ways, but that's our main purpose.
Yeah, and Jose, I'm going to ask you one last follow-up question here, and then Carla, I'm going to bring you into the conversation to learn about your experience of this, your felt experience of this program. But Jose, just on this note about faculty, because this has come up in previous People First talks. We had previously a speaker, Vishal from Dream a Dream, and he was the CEO of the organization. And he said that one of my biggest realizations was me as a CEO and our staff had to model the behaviors we were trying to espouse. But that's not easy in practice, because that requires us to do that inner work. That requires us to choose the right people. So yeah, did you have difficult moments, what did that look like in practice to ensure that the faculty actually represented the values, and how might that have been different from a typical university? Yeah, what did that look like to make that a reality?
Well, when we started, choosing the right faculty, when I say right, it's people that care about our mission, that were really, that they felt that was the reason why they wanted to come to Earth. And we had people that with great scientific and technical backgrounds, but we didn't feel that they were committed to education, to stop the class and say, no, you don't offend. Anybody can make a question. Don't make fun of this person. And, try to all the time, play soccer, If they follow me, well, the only thing we play in soccer, I had to win all the time. Otherwise, I wouldn't graduate. No, I'm kidding. But, if there was playing soccer, if there was something that they did that says, no, it wasn't a foul, we said, no, stop, it was. And so at the cafeteria, at the sports, everywhere we have to practice that. And unfortunately, not everybody behaves that way. And especially with the faculty and the staff, if people did not behave in the way that we expected, we prefer to let them go and bring another person. And then what we have that every month we had a meeting with a mixture of staff, with faculty, people from the kitchen, drivers, everybody, and we talk about our mission, why we were there, why is it important, our job. So we remind everybody that we are there for a specific reason, and the reason is our mission. And obviously, teaching science and technology in the best way and practicing and doing research, it has to be there. Going to the communities, and we build two-way bridges. I mean, we are not going to the communities to tell them what to do, but we also learn from the communities. And so the whole system is is a way that we look for the benefit of each other, and we also didn't have the best student was not the one that had the best grades necessarily. It was the one that had good grades, but was a good classmate, somebody that helped his classmates, somebody that would be involved with the community, would be very proactive in society. And so it was difficult at the beginning. Well, this is something difficult around us in the world, but we had to convince our students that they had a role when they graduate to change the world. Just 3 words: change the world. Yeah. And we really mean it. And we believe that leaders can change the world if they are positive. And we see the hatred and the wars around the world, and we can't continue like that.
Yeah, Jose, I hear so many things that have come up as we've been talking about collective leadership. And just to name a few of the things that I've been hearing is, this intentionality around that we have to role model what we want to see in others. So just that intentionality that you were doing with the faculty, this idea of creating regular spaces to come back to purpose and values. So I'm just struck by the idea that you had monthly spaces that included everyone from faculty to the drivers. This idea that this leadership happens in everyday moments. So again, I was struck by it happens on the soccer field. It happens when there is an unethical moment in class or someone makes a joke about someone and we interrupt it. And this idea of what do we celebrate? So I'm hearing from you, instead of celebrating competition, we're celebrating collaboration. Instead of celebrating just academic success, we're actually celebrating collective success. So yeah, I just think there's so much there in the heart of, well, what does it actually take to develop this type of collective leadership? And maybe Carla, I'll turn it over to you now and hear about your experience on the other side. Let's start with you as a student at the Earth University. So what did you experience that was powerful? And what shifts did you see in your own values and leadership as a result?
Thank you very much for that great opportunity. It's nice to have this opportunity to share my experience in a great university that we have in that world. So for me, when I started study in Earth University, first of all, I remember when I was 18 years old, I chose Earth University because convinced to me that we need to know about technical aspects that, of course, I grow in a farm, a coffee farm and dairy farm, productive aspects, and also social and environmental topics that were so important for me when I read the curriculum of Earth University and the profile of the different topics and matters that was integrated in the program. For me, was great because how the university taught in that moment when they start in a holistic way to teach in the sustainable aspects, especially in that time of the world, especially here in our Central American countries. In that moment, we were passing social and political problems in that moment. So for me was great in order to convince me to start to study in that university. When I was in university, was really a big challenge at the beginning, because first of all, you need to live in the campus to share with people with different countries, to live and to share with them the different times, not only a schedule to go to the classes, to share, for example, in the different times of food, the free time, to organize different taxes that we have it. Something really nice I remember was how we shared with the rest of the classmates labs, the tasks in the fields, and the classes with the professors. And the professors, they were for me more than a professors. They were facilitators of knowledge. That is so important, because after the class, you have the professor or the faculty close to you in order to explain more details about the different topics in the area that they teach. And also really important area for me during my years of a student was the big challenge, how to build or how to design my entrepreneurial project. Was for me was a big challenge, because wow, you need to start to feel the real life. So Air University teach to or teach about to feel about the real life. Work in teamwork, for example, to work with people with different way to do the things. For example, you need to be empathy, to have empathy with the people, respect, that Jose said. During my years of like a worker, now like a professional, I can appreciate the moments that I live in Earth University during my 4 years, because teach me values, respect, teamwork, how to work with people. This is the most important thing in the world. To have the challenge entrepreneurial project, or for example, my graduation project too, how to teach with the professors and the classmates about different topics, because they have different way, the way to receive education. I had this classmates from South America, from Central American countries, so different way to interpret sometimes many things, but at the end they make me feel strong in the way to understand many things, to do the things, the goal. And also really important for me, like Jose say, is in that campus we share like a family. You have the people around you, because we were 400 students, but the students are sharing with faculty members and their families, the administrative people, the people that works in the labs or in the field, or even for us, like students, for us are so important that the time to eat, because we share with people in the same area, with professors, with faculty, with administrators. That is so important. At the end, we are the same human being.
Yeah,
that is
Carla,
so important to teach the people too.
Yeah, it's so, I mean, it's so, sometimes again, we hear about these values, but hearing your perspective as a student and that felt experience of feeling like a family, that the families and the students and others who are working on campus were living together. And, you mentioned this entrepreneurial project. So Jose, can you just share more about that? So it sounds like one of the pillars of the program is also just real world experience. And, previously we had Fred Swaniker on, and he talked about that being such a core part of the African Leadership Academy as well. So tell us about that, and what's the philosophy behind that, and how does that work to grow leadership?
Yes, thank you. As I mentioned, we wanted to form job creators rather than job seekers, and we wanted the students to have a real life experience, not a project, a class project. So what we did was kind of a risky, well, the whole program at the beginning was an experiential program. It was an experiment, really. But we got a grant for about $150,000, I think, our second year when we started. And we decided that we were going to form, I asked the students to form a company, a business company with 4 or 5 students per company. And those 4 or 5 students, they had to be from different backgrounds, different countries, etc., as I mentioned before. And they had to come up with a proposal to create a business. And in the first year, they will get to know each other, in the class. And at the end of the first year, they had to form the group. And at the end of the first year, or the beginning of the second year, they had to tell the university, a board, that we became like a bank. So they would present the project proposal to us, and we would bring somebody from the business sector from outside. If they wanted in coffee, somebody in the coffee industry, or if it was in dairy, whatever. And once they present a project, and if we felt it was a good project to run, we will give them a loan. And then for a year and 9 months or 6 months, they will go from zero to marketing their product. And they had to pay interest, the local interest in Costa Rica for the loan. And then 1/3 of the net income, if they made money, will come to university, and 2/3 will go for them in order to maintain our loan. And at the beginning, we had a lot of discussion. We're going to lose all that money in the first year. The students would not be able to make it. Well, they gave us a lesson. We had to learn from them. And over 30 years already, almost, our budget, our loan program, about 70% of the project break even, or they make a profit. So actually our money is increasing, but most importantly, it's not that they make money. Sometimes failing in the business, it's a great learning opportunity. So we don't, and that's their own business, they can come to the faculty for advice, but the faculty is not supposed to be part of that or help, just advice. So what they really get is a real nice experience. They have to discuss what project they want to have. So they have to listen to another one, and they have to respect each other, and then come out at the end with one idea and then work together for that.
Yeah.
What happened is that,
go ahead.
yeah, I just was going to say, for those that made a new project that was kind of risky and innovative, so we lowered the return that they had to give to Earth in order for them to take more risks and be innovative. But that changes their mentality totally.
Yeah,
and they want to
I
become
was going to ask
business.
Carla how that changed for you, because I think that's incredible to, at a young age, have the opportunity. And what's interesting about this, Jose, is what you said. It's not just a project, because there's many universities that have projects, but that you're actually putting some skin in the game alone, having people work together. So Carla, how did that experience shape you? What was your biggest learning from actually building your own venture, whether you succeeded or failed?
Yes. Well, thank you for that question, because that gives us in that moment, during my study years, you plan everything, the classes, the entrepreneurial project, step by step, but you learn that every plan had different steps, or you need to make change during the way to complete it. So it's easy to say, but when you feel it is different. With my entrepreneurial project, for example, I need to change my market, for example, because we need to select market in order to sell my product, and with the condition of the national market in that moment. I remember was baby corn, my entrepreneurial project, and the market. So it's a big challenge for us to how to change the market to go. In that case, in Costa Rica, we were in Costa Rica, so in San Jose, who is the capital here, how to collect that information in order to obtain market, or what is the price of the product. So this is the big real challenge. It's easy to read it. It's easy to talk, but when you are selling the product and when you try to complete the project, or even if you are in a specific project in the different topics in the career, plan is very good, help a lot, but the real thing is when you need to implement it. That teaches a lot. And I remember in my case, I have an academy and a personal challenge, because in that moment, when I was trying to obtain my market and to close and negotiate my business, in that moment my father died. So it was really hard for me, because I need to, in that moment I was 22 years old, and was really hard. So Air University support also in that aspects too. Air University is not a simple university. It's social, it's values, it's human rights too. And in that moment was really hard, because that was 1 month before my internship. So, and demonstrate for me and for the university, you can continue, especially if you have academic or personal challenge during the period of that project that is to be an engineer, agronomist engineer. Also in the real life, you have this kind of experience. So teach me a lot about the real conditions that we have after you graduate. For example, I remember professors of soils in that moment that they organized in their courses one day with a graduate. So I remember you need to share with a graduate that are already working in the farms or in companies, one day like a field trip, what they are doing in order to feel what exactly is the challenge, like a productive manager or even working in private or public sector. That for me was a really great experience, because after that you can understand exactly what is the importance of that life, to work with values, respect, work with people. Now, like a extension service director, is so important to feel the people, because it's a productive sector in my country and even in the world. So to produce food, to work with people is so important for me. Remind, when I have different situations, remind my university experience, teamwork, sensibility, human rights, empathy is so important. So during my 20 years like a professional, I was working in NGOs and academy, in private sector, and now in public sector. That is a big challenge too. I can say yes, I can demonstrate that the curriculum at university that I received teach me to work with that, all the different conditions that we have to develop the challenge that we already have, and not only entrepreneurial project. Now I have another big entrepreneurial project to my work and to my country. So that's teach the real life that is so important for me. This is a model to promote.
It's so helpful, Carla, because it sounds like you were dealing with, and thank you for sharing that, real deep personal challenges while doing your first entrepreneurial venture. But the ability to do that in an environment where, Jose, you were saying the faculty is not giving you the answers, but you have a little bit of support the first time you do that, I can imagine probably gave you the confidence then as you faced future challenges in life. So thank you for sharing that. Let me ask one or two more questions, and then I'm going to open it up. So as I'm just asking these last couple of questions, I'll invite you all to start putting some questions in the chat so we can bring everybody into this conversation. But Jose, I want to come back to something that you'd said before and we skipped over, which is this idea of a two-way bridge. And so one of the things that you've shared with me is, so we talked about different pillars of the program. There's a piece around growing values. There's a piece around this entrepreneurial real life experience. But one thing you've also shared is that there's a real intentional engagement with communities. So one day a week, everybody's with the community. I think you mentioned, 3 weeks you go live with a community that you're working with. Can you share more how that works and what you mean by two-way bridge?
Yeah, well, I'll start by an experience I had when I worked in the public university, that I went to the field and I was convincing, a farmer about his daughter to come study to university. And he told me, but you only build one-way bridges. You take our kids from the field, take them to the city, and never return them to us. And that stuck in my mind, and it was so true. So when we started, even the first day that I was inaugurated in 1989, in my speech, I said, we are going to build two-way bridges with the community, with the family, with everybody. So what we tried to do is that we wanted our students to be aware of the conditions, the challenges, the problems, and the opportunities that families have. Since we work in agriculture, small and medium-sized farmers, it's not only about production that they have a problem, or about crops, etc. There are other problems. So we spend at least 1 or 2 days per week with the faculty in our community around the Earth campus. And we're very concerned about the environment because we are in the rainforest, and the rainforest is only 7% of the surface of the land, but we have between 50 and 80% of the biodiversity there. So, and it was being destroyed. So, but we cannot tell the farmer, don't do this, and he can't eat. So we had to give sustainable solutions. So we we spend at least one day in the community learning from them and learning and bringing solutions to them. And we form that bridge. They can come also to the university and we go to them. But also we send the students like 3 weeks to live with a family of sometimes many times of economically disadvantaged conditions. They live 3 weeks with them. They watch TV at night. They are soap operas, but they also understand the family problems. Sometimes you don't have an agricultural problem. One was some case I mentioned that, the daughter is getting married, so you sell 2 cows, and the 2 cows are the ones that produce the milk for you. And, and that's a challenge. It's not about production. It's about a decision the person has to take. And understanding those problems, we become more sensitive. We understand more, and we can also help, but we also learn from them, their environmental conditions, etc. And people get much more sensible, the students. And then I think one thing I didn't mention is that in the 3rd year, the last semester, they go to another country or to another place to work on a private company for full 3 months. And this is not with the professor, it's working with a company. And they go to different parts of the world. And it's interesting because when they leave, they think that they know nothing. They are so nervous. And some people have gone to New Zealand, to Europe, to their own countries. And when they come back, they think they know everything. but that experience, when they go out, they learn about the market. I mean, the tropical products that go to the Netherlands and how do they choose that? So now we have a graduate from the 1st generation working in Germany, promoting coffee from Latin America, from different brands to improve the coffee marketing in Latin America, but based in Europe, but because he knows the challenges that those producers have. So that's the kind of sensibility that you only get if you get out of your class, out of the walls of the university. You break that wall and go out to the field and experience and learn from that, and
yeah, that's incredible, Jose. There's just, I think this idea that's come up about so much of this learning is experiential, both spending 3 weeks with a family, having TV with them, understanding what they eat, understanding how financial decisions are made, getting to know them as human beings, and this idea of getting out of your own context. Carla, let me throw the last question to you, and then I'm going to open it up to the group for questions. But how was that experience like for you, whether the deep experience in the community for 3 weeks or getting outside in another country? And how is that shaping you right now? How is that influencing you in your day-to-day, in your current role? Can you share an example of how you operate differently as a result?
Thank you very much for that question, because for me, the internship experience that I had when I was at university give me, for example, to how to manage, for example, the barrier or culture and language. Because first of all, I am Costa Rican, of course I speak Spanish, but how to go and to make your sustainable activity, holistic way to think and now to act with people in communities, and maybe they are not the same culture that you are, or the language. For example, I had the opportunity to go United States during my internship, and also to Lebanon. So if you can, countries with different culture like us, and livestock experience, the way to produce is a little bit different like us. So that made me feel like the education that you are receiving is has the principles in order to develop in the different way, for example, in the different way in the planet. For example, I have the opportunity to go United States and Lebanon to work with people that they don't, maybe in that moment, they don't know about their university, because in that moment was a new university, and how to transmit to the company that and the university that I was, the social, environmental, and economic awareness in livestock production was a big challenge for me. And first of all, I didn't speak Arab. I didn't speak English at that moment, just to start it. And uh, was a nice experience in order to try to be in the line to concrete my task. So start to learn, and also how to communicate with the workers of the farm, by signs. I remember the workers and Earth University farm. I say, now I can manage the language, so maybe by signs. I remember I draw things, I write things. So, but it's also a way to learn and a way to teach too, to work with workers at the farm, workers in the university. I remember in the lab, in the daily lab, was a great opportunity because nobody speak English and even Spanish, and just Arab. I remember. So now I am in the lab. How can, because are so technical words. So for me, it was great now in my job now, because I can obtain that experience in order to traduce or translate, like every moment or every organization, it has the same thing, that is human beings. So with human beings is a big challenge to work, and it's the most beautiful thing to work, because we can do nice things if you have values, respects, and empathy with them in order to arrange the project. Even if you don't talk the same language, even if you are not in the same culture, you can develop nice things if you have respect, and if you have also holistic way to think. That is so important. It's a sustainable way to think, to teach, and to act. That is so important. It's hard. Of course, it's hard. We are human beings. But the mission that Earth University promote, that help us to develop this kind of arrange things to develop our job at the end. So
yeah, it sounds like Carla. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
it's all right. It's all right. That's at the end, you complete the goal, but you need to understand that during the line, you will have up and downs in order to complete it. That's Earth University model teach to do it.
yeah, no, that's fascinating. It sounds like just from a young age, you're learning to how do we work across difference. And, in this case, it was learning to work across cultural contexts. But I can imagine, Carla, in your current role as director of the extension service, you were sharing, you have to work with different organizations, but this idea of groundedness and some core values and coming back to people. And Jose, I remember in a previous conversation, you were saying so many development organizations, are not even asking people who are facing the challenges what their needs are. And so I think
yes,
this work of from the get-go, what you've done is really deeply engaging with community, makes such a difference.
And I would like just to add one thing more, is about our community work.
Yeah.
Because you also work with people there. And that Jose said is true. You need to share with a family, or with the producers, a family, not only in the productive way, not only to teach about coffee or dairy farm or even banana, is just to share with them about family context. As a problem with the family, they like to share with you, and we are earrings for them. It's like okay, I'm going to hear the problem, and that moment teach to you in the life to be sensitive with that people. Now in my work, I work with my staff, that I am in charge of 450 people around my country in extension service, and they work with producers. They work with a big challenge. So I try to traduce the projects, the national projects that we have in coffee, in soils, and biopractical, about biotechnical way to produce now, in order to teach them. So how is the best way to teach that producers that during many years they are producing in the same way? So we need to transform the way to producers. So we are working now with coffee, livestock, bananas, and rice and sugar cane products here in my country. And I remind my experience in Earth University how to translate to that producers the way to do the things better than they do during many years. It's
Yeah.
hard because you need to talk and to try to convince your extension services team, and then they need to introduce this to the producers in my country. It's a big challenge, but I'm here and I love my job.
Yeah, and it sounds like what you've really got from Earth University is just that in order to transform a system and have anyone change anything, the first step is to listen. And in that two-way, recognizing maybe we have something to offer, but maybe we have something to learn as well. So thank you both for sharing. I do want to, I know we only have a few minutes left, but I want to open up to the group. So please put your questions in the chat, or if you want to, you can come off mute and share. Let's just get 2 or 3 questions in here from the rest of the group. This is a great question. Angie, do you mind actually, just so we can hear from you, do you mind coming off mute and just sharing your question for Jose and Carla? We'll start with that, and then we'll hopefully get to a couple more.
Hi, Jose and Carla, and thank you so much for coming and sharing. I appreciate this. I'm from Comfort, so I know some young women that have benefited from Earth University, and so just wanted to confirm that, you know, I've got firsthand experience of the transformation. It's real. So my question to both of you, particularly Jose, is, you know, have there been any pleasant or unpleasant surprises as, you know, on your journey of putting people first at Earth?
Jose, I think you're on mute, but yeah, we will start with you.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, the last part?
Jose, I think it was, have there been any pleasant or unpleasant surprises of putting, you know, people first? And so, yeah, maybe even just, you know, we've talked about what's worked, but what have been some of those challenges along the way, and what have you learned?
People first, did you say?
Yeah, putting people first, values first. Yeah. What have been some of
Well,
the...
we have, when we started, we did make a strong emphasis that people first and values are as important or more important as science and technology. I mean, what I'm saying is that if you have a great person in science and technology, but uses the knowledge to harm people, it's better not to teach him or her those things. I mean, if you have no values, I think when we form a person excellent in science and technology and has no values, maybe more dangerous than not teaching the person. So values for me and look what's happening around us in the world. We hadn't finished the problem with the pandemic, and then we had a war, and then we have violence, and we have hatred, and we have divisions, and we are destroying our environment, and we are destroying ourselves, and we don't seem to realize that we are one family in this home we call Earth. It's the only home we have so far, and we are not taking care of it. What's wrong with us? Why can't we be supportive of each other? Why can't we save people from dying from curable diseases and spend so much money in things that, you know, don't make a difference? So values for me is extremely important.
Thanks, Jose. Yeah. And Carla, I mean, you were on the staff of the university for a while. Yeah, what was, I mean, anything that you found was, yeah, hard or challenging about this approach of, because this is not easy. You know, we talk values and theoretically it sounds nice, but yeah, what was difficult about it? You're getting people to navigate conflict, work across difference. Do you have moments of challenge? And
yes,
what did you learn from that?
Like I mentioned many times, we are human beings. So when we are working with our classmates in different projects and tasks, maybe one classmate tried to do the task different, like we are doing in the right way, maybe. How to talk with that classmate, don't do it like that. You need to do it like this. This is a big challenge too, because sometimes you need to try to convince to the one or two classmates in order to don't do it like that. We need to win like this, not like that. This is value at the end. And to for example, when you need to change the way to do in the right way, is difficult when you are a student and with the same students, of course. And when you need to talk with the professors, hey, I don't want to continue to work with that people because I don't like or I don't feel like, it's hard because you need to talk in order to give it the opportunity to change. So I had a couple experience, and at the end was success. My classmate, I remember, he's from Colombia, and at the end he understand to do the things in the right way. And it's hard, but if you are convinced that this is the way to do the things, you can do it. Of course you can do it. And to have the support of the faculty, like I told you, they are knowledge facilitator, not only in the technical aspects, also in values support, and if they are support students, is easy to make change.
Yeah, and so it sounds like it wasn't, someone teaching you values or a class on values, but it was just, again, having in every moment, trying to have an opportunity to practice them again, and oftentimes through difficult experiences.
Exactly.
We had some coaching and support along the way. Yeah.
But let me just mention the fact that when we started this and talked about values, I had people from other universities, administrators, saying that that's not was our business. Our business was to teach science and technology, and that we should not take values into account, which obviously we did not follow. But I think that at the end, there is more and more concern about that and for change. And I think there is a question there. The Kellogg Foundation funded us when I left Earth University to share the model of Earth with other universities. And at this moment, with Roof Forum in Africa, with the AMEAS in Mexico, the land grant universities in the US, in Asia, we are through an organization called the Global Confederation of Higher Education Associations in Agriculture and Research. It's a consortium of universities from around the world promoting, the Earth experience, sharing the Earth experience. It doesn't have to be the same, but sharing, as Kellogg said, Earth is no more an experiment. It's a success story. Why don't you share that with the rest of the world? And that's what we are doing at the moment. And I will ask anybody in the universities that if, that I think it's worthwhile to put an emphasis. If we want a different world, we need to form the leaders that the world needs. And it has to do with humanity, with human rights, with care for each other, care for the environment. So it's planting seeds of hope.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Jose. That's just a beautiful note to end on. And I think what I'm taking away from this conversation is, again, many organizations talk about values and it's just a mission statement on a wall. But what I hear from both you and Carla, and thanks to the others who joined from the Earth University, it's really embodied in your culture. And, I also hear some courage. It takes something, many years ago, 30 years ago, when values wasn't the norm to talk about values, or when you're choosing professors based on academic credentials, when you went against the grain and chose folks who would role model the values that you would see, or the courage to just get into these messy situations, Carla, and learn about those at an early age. So yeah, thank you both for your commitment and also for your courage to try to shift paradigms at a time when oftentimes these things were quite new and novel. And I think you've also just changed the environment as a result of the choices you've made. So a big thank you to you, Jose and Carla, and for the rest of you for participating. And just a preview of what's coming up next, we're going to continue these talk series. In July, we'll be sending out a note about this. We will have a conversation with Martin Burt. And Martin is a social entrepreneur in Paraguay. He was a mayor there, chief of staff to the president, and started a foundation there. And the foundation started this really innovative project called the Poverty Stoplight. And the idea there is flipping the way that we get information and who's actually leading the change. So instead of the World Bank saying, we're going to think about data around who's in poverty, it's flipping the switch so that families are deciding, and it's using technology, basic technology that's in cell phones to let families decide, and families be the one who then take the next step. So I think it's another great example of how we switch this paradigm from top-down leadership to those locally leading the change. So looking forward to that conversation. So thank you again, Jose and Carla. We will send out, as we always do, some insights in a video of this talk in case you want to share it with others in your organization. Wishing you all a great day.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much for the organizers and the audience too. Thank you. Great opportunity. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.